Welcome to the Useful Podcast. It's just a simple conversation. Kind of want to probe about your background, learn about who you are, and I'm kind of interested in learning a lot about your background as well. So for the audience, I am sitting with Ivey. He's been building and storytelling in crypto for a long time. He was connected to Eric right before us. We talked to him and a couple of things as well for you. This is your story told your way. So anything you want to say, you can say it. And if you want to kill it later on, just feel free to message me. So yeah, with all that preface, I want to start with your background, your history. So I guess I would talk about your philosophy degree. I think it's really unique and not a lot of people even go into philosophy. I think it's a really interesting topic and kind of curious what even got you into philosophy.
Yeah, I got into philosophy when I was a junior in high school. I started reading some Sigmund Freud and quickly found out he's not, the go-to guy, but I still enjoyed it at the time. And I started writing my girlfriend at the time's writing prompts from her writing class for her. And I was just getting into writing and philosophy at the same time. Took a philosophy class as a senior. And yeah, I've just started really getting into it. I've always been interested in just life looked at from a third person perspective. It's hard to explain why people get into philosophy. I like metaphysics. I like people watching. I like, looking at the world from, kind of an alien perspective, and thinking like, how do you look at this very objectively?
Like a bird's eye, almost like a bird's eye view.
Yeah, bird's eye view, objective, impartial, just looking at life. I really got into Camus and Kierkegaard in college, the absurdity of life and just, I don't know.
So then curious, you have your philosophy degree and then you became a college wrestler and then a personal trainer and then you had a coffee company and then crypto. So that's for most people, that's a random path. It's a wild path. What's the actual thread of what were you chasing or like what was keeping everything alive?
Boy, it's hard to even ask or answer. I started wrestling in high school actually, and I did very well. For me, wrestling was an outlet. In high school, a lot of things were going, I wouldn't say wrong in life, just life was hard. Moving around a lot, family was crazy. Family life is crazy. Not that my family is crazy, just family life was just tumultuous. So wrestling for me was an escape. Reading for me was an escape. Video games and, wrestling itself specifically is something that you can really dive into and just pour your whole heart and soul into, and also very competitive. So, wrestling was just a huge love for me, and it really helped me grow as a person. Helped just lock in that work ethic, the discipline, the mindset. Wrestling is not a joke. And then when I got into college, I sort of stopped after my second year, just doing club wrestling. I went to nationals. My heart really wasn't in it anymore. Even though I still loved it, just wanted to have a college experience. Philosophy and reading also, again, kind of an escape. Like, you're just thinking about life, thinking about how things work, thinking about what things could be rather than what is. And, I've more and more as I get older, you start to think about what could be rather than what is. And it kind of seeps into everything you do,
So I guess my question,
philosophy.
I guess I was going to ask, is it like more so you're chasing is it like your potential or is it something in particular like your a meaning, or was it something in particular like all of that you're chasing behind or not chasing? Like what was there was something, I guess when builders do something, there's an underlying reason or underlying thing that they don't like about the world or something like that. And then I'm kind of digging into that.
Yeah. So for myself, I wouldn't say that like my goal in life is to push my potential. It's more that I just do that. I just like working hard, wrestling. I just like competing. I like working hard. And when it comes to building, yes, working hard and pushing my potential is the starting point. But like you said, there's something in the world that I want to change. And like I was saying, how could things be? So when I first got into crypto, you mentioned the coffee company. I was trying to push the coffee company. I went to a health biohacking event. Some investors invited me to. And then I met Cyrus, who we talked for hours about, the economy and everything. I had written some articles about the problem with money and everything. And at the time I was getting more into, economics and politics. And he said, you should get into crypto. Funny story, when I wrote that article, The Problem with Money, I looked back years and years later and I realized that I had chosen a picture of Bitcoin and Ethereum. I had no idea what crypto was at the time. And the
It's
things that
funny.
I was describing, how I would fix things, were like, it was
Was
like
the actual
decentralized crypto-esque type of talk without mentioning crypto. So when it comes to how could things be in the world, I'm always thinking about the future. I love sci-fi. How could we change the economy? How could we change politics? How can we make systems that work for people instead of working for the 1%? That was a big thing with ShopX. I'm sure you talked about ShopX with Eric.
Yep.
That was
A
the
little
whole.
bit. I wanted to. I guess I want to dig more with you a little bit after. But I guess we can go into ShopX now. But or before we go to ShopX, I was kind of curious about your decentralization belief or your belief in decentralization. Where I mean, most people when I talk to them, it's or not most people. I think decentralization is rapidly becoming the next movement, or like it's happening every day. People with AI are rapidly more powerful than entire institutions. You're ending up with like me and my laptop are probably better off doing a lot of things than a group of people would. And it's like decentralization is becoming more like a meta now. So kind of curious on when you saw it and how your take is, and when did you actually see decentralization as like the future?
Well, when I wrote my article, there you could see the echo of decentralization, like the flavor of it. And then when I got into crypto, immediately it clicked. ShopX was meant to be a decentralized marketplace, and that made so much sense to me. I really, immediately clicked with it, and it helped me. It was like my fulcrum into Web3 and into e-commerce and into all these things. That idea of decentralization, how it fits with my idea of how the economy should work. It all just came together so well. So yeah, I mean, decentralization, I think it was picking up in popularity. I think it's kind of dipped a little bit now that people have seen crypto, a couple cycles die. And I
I mean,
think,
I feel like decentralization being a pure crypto thing is kind of going. I think it's more like a myth. I feel like it's going to be crypto. It's like the advent of everything coming together, which is going to cause
Mhm.
decentralization, like network states. Like you're having money being decentralized, network states being like people being decentralized. Now information with AI is like power is decentralized at this point. And if everything
Yeah,
slowly
AI for
becomes
sure. Yeah.
decentralized, yeah. So I guess you've been the storyteller or like the content or the narrative behind a lot of different projects in your life, from ShopX, Alter, I think Crypto PR Labs. How'd you become the guy who makes people believe in the thing to, I guess, now the guy who built it?
Crypto PR Labs was our marketing agency that I was working with. I mean, I'm a writer at my heart. Like I was writing for a long time before I got into crypto. I wrote 2.5 books. They didn't sell or anything, not
Yeah.
published, but that was my whole dream. So storytelling has always been my thing. And before I got into crypto, I actually made a game. So, more of, it's always been more of an artistic, creative approach, but
Okay.
also like there's also a logical side, a builder side with the game and everything. So yeah, I mean, also I didn't do, sorry, Alter's brand narrative. I did Anchor's brand narrative a long time ago. And in fact, it was so long ago that we met with our team like a year ago and they don't even remember us. It's like a whole new thing. But I think that being able to understand the crypto side and the tech side, and then having that storytelling background, bringing those two things together, being able to explain things in a way that makes sense to people, that really started helping me build my way up in, the agency I was working with, help me make a mark. And a lot of times on a call with a client, a potential client, they would be explaining their project and they go into all the technical terms and they would have a hard time really nailing down how to explain it. And then I would give them one or two lines and they'd be like, oh, wow, like that's, it's perfect that, right there on the call. So, that's kind of what helped me like work my way up in the beginning, just like that
That makes
understanding.
sense. So I guess for ShopX and Aces is the same thing, right?
ShopX was a more like broad, decentralized marketplace. And then Aces was a more focused collectibles marketplace.
Okay. So I guess we'll talk about Aces then. Kind of curious about the bet. If you want to talk me through like the pitch, the bet, where the idea come from, and how did it go?
Well, now it's sunset now, of course, but Aces was a collectible marketplace where we would tokenize, high value, hype collectibles and allow people to sort of
Is this
trade
like
that.
Pokemon? I'm assuming,
Yeah.
is this like Pokemon cards? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Pokemon cards, cars, watches, but allowing people to trade that, create a derivative market for it with tokens, allow people to trade with those tokens. And you kind of see similar things out in the wild, Pokemon types of projects or collectibles. One way or another, people are tokenizing collectibles. And we thought we would capture that into one, one central platform where we would tokenize collectibles and let people trade. And then when the collectible sells on the platform, the token holders would get a cut of the sale because by buying the token, by evangelizing the item and maybe even the the collector, they would be helping to sell the item essentially. Telling their friends, I got this token. You see the ticker all over, Telegram and Twitter. Now people see it. People see your item and maybe they'll buy it. Maybe
So
someone
it's
out there will
something.
have some money and buy it.
Yeah. So it's something, I guess, like even with sneakers, with how like crazy this is going, like you can trade sneakers online without actually having to ship sneakers around the world. Similar.
Yeah, people
Okay.
want to trade whatever has attention, whatever has value.
Yeah. So I guess Eric did tell me Aces ran into a wall. Kind of curious, you lived it from the inside as well. What was your take on what went wrong?
Well, being hacked was not fun. I think that's it was kind of the death blow, but we were also kind of banking on Base taking a more social approach, and
What's base? Sorry.
Coinbase,
Okay.
like the Base app and everything.
Yep.
And then they just did a 180, went into tokenizing, completely dropped all those social initiatives, and we we could have been successful regardless. But I think that we just couldn't pick up that traction we needed to really get it going, get the attention. We had a couple influencers early on who sort of, I don't want to say dropped the ball, but like it just didn't quite work out, and
Yeah.
that early momentum kind of dipped. But really, the hack was like
It's like
death
the nail in the
blow. We
coffin.
were planning on keeping on going for a while.
That makes sense. I guess now to go into your new venture, curious about a Signal. I'm curious how the way you would explain it to me. Yeah.
Yeah, so I started making Signal in December, I think. I was just going to make a automated trading tool. And, vibe coding obviously is not as easy as it sounds, especially when it comes to something like this. So it ended up taking a lot longer than I thought. Every month, another breakthrough. Every month, more research leading to new ideas and new, methods. But anyway, Signal is a trading game on Solana. Really is just trading wrapped in a gaming experience. And the idea is that, my token detection system will find a trade for you. It'll place the trade for you, and then you just sell. When I was making my system, I realized like entering the token at the right time, I had kind of solved that. Like getting out at the right time, I still had a huge road ahead of me, and I'm solving that now. It should be pretty much solved, but I had the idea to put that exit in the hands of the user, and then right then and there, the idea for Signal came.
Yeah, kind of curious about, I guess, a lot of games within the blockchain. What's the reasoning behind even a game within the blockchain? Can you, curious about that.
Well, I mean, for the user, you want to make that perfect trade, and you want to get in at the best time. Like when I send the calls to my Telegram group, I send them there so people can see he did, these are the signals I would be trading in the game. But when you click on that signal and you load it up and you take a look at the chart, by that time, it's like a lot of times it's gone up 50%, 2x. Like you can't get in at the perfect time. Yeah, I mean, I built the algorithm to get in right before it blows, right before it goes up. And that getting in right at that moment is hard if you don't have that algorithm, searching the entire pump fund, all of every trade, every token in existence. You can't watch everything at all times. Getting in is hard. So, but once they're in now selling, that's a whole different story. You're in, you see the chart, you understand charts. AI and algorithms, they don't understand charts quite as well as human eye. So that's the motivation. And I think once people start playing the game, once the game is live and people start playing, I think the whole statistic of 90% of traders losing money, I'm hoping to flip that on its head.
So, I mean, even curious, if more people make money, isn't that isn't trading supposed to be zero sum in the end of the day?
I mean, I think there's a big problem with the cabals.
What's a cabal?
cabal, like the
Yeah.
insiders.
Okay.
So yeah, most likely you're not gonna have 90% of people winning, but at least we shouldn't have only 1% of people winning. The
Yeah.
the cabals, the insiders, the KOLs, all these people with the information or the tools or they're the ones winning. And like I said, it's so hard to get in at that perfect time because they're engineering the perfect time. They're getting in early, but if you have a nice algorithm on your side, you can get in at the right time. So in my Telegram group, I send the calls and I have token scanner scan them, and people can see that consistently stay around 40% hit rate, which is like a hit rate means doubled in price from the time I called it. The returns are really crazy, like 10,000 returns per week. Obviously, you can't capture 10,000, like it's impossible to get the perfect sale, but the potential that I'm putting into that Telegram group is crazy. I mean, people are making money. People are like really happy.
Yeah, kind of curious. I mean, this might just be me spitballing out here, but how can you use this on a regular? This is basically the same algorithm. What do you call it? Hedge funds use are something similar, but they have a live computer connected to a server, right? Is that similar to or is it a little bit
Now,
different? Yeah.
yes and no. The way Pump Fund works compared to like a normal like ticker or chart, it's just different. So like if you have someone like Renaissance, the amount of data that they're looking at is so massive compared to the data that I'm looking at. I'm still looking at a lot of data, but kind of some of the differences are a lot of mine is, and I don't want to give I don't want to give any secrets, but the way that I ingest and calculate and shape the data is a little different. Temporal type of machine learning does exist, but I've kind of taken it a step further. And then there's a lot of wallet labeling, deployer labeling, and it's different. Yeah, there is machine learning for sure, the same as the hedge funds do, but it's just like it's more chaotic and it's harder to. It was a very difficult time taking that
Yeah,
in
I'm
something.
curious about I'm curious about how you're thinking about the product scales and where you want to take it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, there's only so much opportunity, only so much signal, and if we have, let's say, 1,000 people playing, that would be crazy. It'd be amazing. We would be shaping charts, right? Like, we'd be blasting charts out into oblivion. Obviously, you can't do that. So, I've already built the algorithm to distribute traders to calls based on their performance. Essentially, not everyone can get in on every call. So yeah, it can't scale to infinity. There's always going to be an upper limit of how many people can get in at a time.
I mean, curious now going with AI and agents, like adding, let's say to get 1,000 different people to onboard at the exact same time, at the exact same call, at the exact same thing. Isn't that something I feel like if every one of those 1,000 people had an agent to do this, would that be possible?
Well, an AI agent can't do that.
Okay.
An AI agent cannot ingest pump fund data or it's just Solana data in general.
Or
It
I
can't.
meant, sorry, connected to Signal and Signal do it like as a plugin from like you activate the 1,000.
Well, you had to be in my UI. You had to play the game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I do have an MCP server, but yeah, that would.
Yeah, kind of curious now. Okay, now really curious. Because you're on one side it sounds more like a hedge fund, on the other side you're just saying it's like and one of my friends said it was basically like gamified gambling or whatever you want to call it. So I'm kind of curious what your take is on what you're doing, because on one side it looks like a hedge fund to me, and on the other side it looks like a game. So
Hmm. Okay, let
like,
me
yeah,
explain both sides of it.
yeah.
So on the game side, you have players trading the signals, and I would hesitate to call it gamified gambling because really what I'm trying to do is move people away from gambling and move them into a kind of a safer environment where I gave you the trade. All you gotta do is sell it when you see some green. If you lose 3 times, you have a little character and you have little hearts. If you lose 3 times during your session ends. Sessions only last 30 minutes, and there are just a bunch of safeguards and bumpers around your trading experience, including your trade size. So really, what I want is for people to come back tomorrow with money left. I want them to win, obviously, but if you lose, I don't want you to be washed out. I want daily active players. There's also a paper trading option where you can just trade for practice. And once the whole system is locked in, your paper trading will actually earn you money because you're paper trading live tokens. So every time you press sell, the machine learning algorithm that is running the automated trading will say, hey, a sale came in on one of our traders. Maybe that'll influence my sale, the algorithm sale. So the algorithm is going to be influenced by those paper traders pressing sell, and it'll increase the weight of its decision to sell until it decides, okay, it's time to sell. That could happen in an instant. 5, 10, 20 traders could say sell right at the same time. The machine learning algorithm could say, okay, we're selling right now too. So the paper traders will be contributing to that automated system, helping it learn, not only helping it learn, but helping it make decisions in real time. And then they'll get little kickbacks from that. But it also depends on how good of a paper trader you are. So the better your paper trade history, the more impact your decision is going to have on the algorithm.
So now that gets me to my next question, which would be, if I know nothing about trading, I know nothing about paper trading, and if I jumped into the game, with me just playing the game, how would that work? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so you just the button to start a game was right at the bottom of the. I can't really show you, but you just start a session, and then you have your chart right in front of you, and you have your character and his hearts, and you have your items. And that's it. You're just looking at the chart and you're waiting. And then over time, a chart pops in. You're in already. This is your entry. The chart, the chart's moving, and you just decide. You just click sell. It's very easy, very simple. There's buttons on the screen, or you can just press spacebar.
Okay, so it is a game.
Yeah. You can press up and down if you want to add a 20% or remove 20% if you don't want to sell everything at the same time. But even that action is limited to 3 at first. So you are limited to your trade size, and you're also limited to how much you can add in afterwards. But one thing that I've added is you can buy items with your experience, and your items, your equipment, increase your risk and increase your flexibility. So if you have a fully decked out character, your earning potential is higher, but your losing potential is higher. So like the base game is designed to give the player the best chance of winning. You actually probably don't want to buy items. But if you believe in yourself, if you want that flexibility, you can buy the items and give yourself the risk.
I'm kind of curious what an item would be.
One of the items is the shoes, and it allows you to add extra steps up or down. So a step would be adding 20% or removing 20%. So it basically gives you more ability to pump money in, when I've specifically restricted people from, and the hat gives you more hearts. You can go from 3 to 6 hearts. So now you can lose 6 times before your session ends. The jacket it decreases the confidence needed for a token. So the machine learning, I don't know if you know about machine learning, but they have confidence levels, and higher confidence levels are the baseline. But if you want to gamble a little bit, put on the jacket, lower your confidence, and then you'll have more risk and more opportunity to make more money.
Yeah, that makes sense. Kind of curious now, even with this project and all your previous projects, or what turned you into it? Sounds like it does sound like you've done a bit of game. From a writer to a bit of game design to a bit of What caused this shift?
I mean, if you were in my shoes, it wouldn't really feel like a shift. Like I said, I started with my coffee company, but I made the website. I made all the designs for it. I did a lot of things on that end, and then I made an iPhone game. It's like a little runner where this little character, he's going side to side, endless runner type. He shoots and he slices.
Okay.
That took about 6 months to learn Unreal Engine and to build it and to deploy it to the Apple App Store. So, I had already been like hardcore building before crypto, even though I was kind of a writer. And then writing just got me into marketing, like accidentally. Like I didn't really want to get in marketing. I think that one of the biggest reasons why I got into marketing is because I was pretty good at managing things on behind the computer. Coordinating the team, coordinating all the clients, all of their contacts, all the moving parts, all the journalists, the PR, the events, all these things. For me, that was more of a builder's mindset than a marketing mindset. So while I was writing at first, pivoted to more like management. And again, I'm a gamer. I love factory builders. I love colony builders. I love strategy games. So I've always been here as a builder. And when I got into vibe coding, I just fell in love immediately. Like I fell in love immediately
Yeah.
with that. I've made a lot of things, but Signal is definitely one I'm most proud of.
Okay. So now that you've been close to a lot of projects, some that made it and some that don't, I'm kind of curious. And I mean, even the stigma with the crypto industry and a lot of things going on. Actually, two separate questions. One, it sounds like a bit of the reason decentralization and crypto is a thing is, I guess it's my belief. I'm kind of curious if this tracks. It allows even the developer like you to get paid for games that you make instead of giving, having to go to a publisher, having to go through that entire sequence of finding people and all of that. Is that the appeal of decentralization to you?
Yes, I think fundamentally what it comes down to is middlemen, insurance companies, Uber, DoorDash, as much as people tend to like them, Airbnb, credit card companies, any middleman is kind of like a leech on society. And, no offense to them. Like, I'm not trying to like degrade what brought us up as a society. Amazon is a middleman, but we've come to a point where let's take Amazon, for example. If we were to create a decentralized market rather than Amazon, we wouldn't have all that money coagulating into one guy's pockets and, all that ownership centralizing around a couple people, and they wouldn't be able to control everything. Amazon took control of the market and now they're raising prices and they're, on both sides of the both counterparties and, the fees and everything. It's just like, if Amazon was decentralized, we figured it out. They figured it out. Congrats to them. I think we can take it from here, and society would just be better for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and there's just too many middlemen. Everywhere you look, there's a middleman. This is like, we need to stop letting being a middleman be a job.
Yeah, there's too many brokers in the world.
Too many brokers.
Yeah,
like AI, decentralized rails. Like, we can take it from here.
Okay, that takes me to my next question. Like being in the industry a lot or over a long period of time, there's probably a lot
you're
you
breaking
see.
up.
Is it better now?
I can't hear you.
Hello, hello. Check, mic check. You see? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I'll just continue. So I guess now that you've been close to a lot of different projects, you've seen what works and what doesn't over a long period of time, and you've also heard a bunch of different scams. You've seen what, like the crypto industry is filled with a lot of stigma. Even it's like such a pure. I mean, I view it as a pure intentioned in technology that is like being slandered almost. Kind of curious where not slandered, being misused by a lot of different groups and people. Where I guess what do you see about, like, I guess the sexy, the unsexy, the hideous version of what this industry looks like?
Boy, I don't even know where to start, and I'm going to try to keep it short. But okay, so there's two parts of decentralization here that are important. One is, how do you enforce it? How do you enforce things? And two, how do you make sure that decentralized networks don't secretly become centralized? So, and those both come together to make the answer. So how do you enforce things? How do you create regulation? How do you create sense and stability in a decentralized environment? It requires a lot of things that we've been building, but haven't quite nailed down. So then when you have these centralized entities coming in to sort of help bring things in line, they just centralize it, So we weren't able to create order on our own in time before the centralized entities came and took it over. So, I think it's kind of the wild, wild west. There's too much. It's just too easy to scam, too easy to get away with it. There's no enforcement. There's no punishment unless you really track people down. There's plenty of people that go on in jail and everything, but so many, extremely egregious criminals are just running around for free. And
That's the problem with decentralization, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the projects that I've seen, I don't really think it was ever an issue of the idea being bad. Like, one of the very first projects that I worked with was called intelligent mining, and it was like solar powered Bitcoin mining. Great idea. And, what's wrong with that? But the dude ended up running away. I was never actually paid. I was so annoyed about that. Cautionary tale. But some of these projects are run by people, and people have heard this before. Like, you were washed out of Web2 business, traditional finance. You run the crypto to run a quick scam and then run away. Another project I worked with, I don't want to slander him, but it was a gaming project, a gaming centralized gaming platform for Web3 games. Great idea, and I don't want to. And really, I don't think that he rugged or anything. He really stuck with it for a long time. It just didn't quite work out. I worked there for like a year on social media side. And, that was towards the end. It was just petering out. And it's really been execution this whole time. And people coming through on the promises. These gaming companies, they get $1 billion. They do nothing with it. They make like a cheap little Flappy Bird game. All these different protocols getting tons of money. They do nothing. Pump Fund has tons of money. Solana has tons of money. All these people, they could make the things that they're asking the community to make. They're not making them. Pump Fund, they what have they done? They've redesigned their website a little bit, and I think they're definitely doing some decent things and like moving forward and everything. But
Just curious.
they have a lot more money than they have. They could do a lot more.
Pump Fund is where if I wanted a meme coin, I could just create my own meme coin, right? That's Pump Fund.
Yeah, I mean, they have so much money, and like imagine the good you could do for the community, for the world. I mean, like I just don't understand when people have all this money. Like, what's and their first thought is to run away and just go to the Bahamas. Like, I just don't get it. I whenever I say like I want to save the world or fix the world, it's not just coming from a place of compassion. Like I do have a sense of justice and fairness, and I hate to see that even as hard as my life is, like I'm kind of comfortable. There's people out there that are getting bombed. That's crazy to me. Like we still live in that kind of world. Like we all know better. So there is that, of course, but I also like I want to live for a super long time. I don't want the earth to blow up. I don't want global warming to push us into apocalypse. I want America to be cool and fun and to be like, I'll have all the big cities that like China has. Like, I want to live in a cool world. I guess it's not just an altruistic, approach. Like, I think that the world could be so much more interesting and so much more forward thinking. And
I think we're getting there. I think we're getting there slowly but surely.
So slowly.
But I think it's going to be it's going to be painful before it's nice. I think that's just how it always is. But
well, it's going to be painful for the rich.
Kind of curious. I mean, we talked about this right now, but we went through, I guess, I think you're a philosopher. You're a bit of a futurist too. So what's even talking about your vision of the future right now? What do you actually see I don't want to say vision of the future. That's kind of like really broad, really doesn't make sense. But how do you think your business or your ideas or how do you think who do you think that would have helped, or what does that look like for you?
Well, if you look at something like ShopX, the idea was to help everyone, create a marketplace where everyone was making more money. When it comes to even something small like Signal, it's kind of like distributing the wealth to other traders. Like ultimately, if Signal does well enough, I don't really need other people. I think that bringing that attention to me through Signal would be good though. I do need people and money in the beginning, but it's, like you said, it's going to be kind of like a hedge fund. It's going to be automated trading. It could run on its own once like the market's really, really good and, things going really well. But yeah, even something like Signal is sort of like giving other people opportunity to make money, people that normally wouldn't have the opportunity, the tools, the information. So something small like that is part of it. But like there's many other things like, obviously something like ShopX. I want to start creating tokens that tokenize businesses. You start decentralizing everything. Like I had an idea.
So explain, when you say tokenized business, does that mean like if I had a business, I can tokenize it and people can basically like shares of my stock being traded, or how would that work?
Well, that's the bad word, but yes. I mean, so many projects in Web3 get started with a token. And for them, that's essentially their business, like stock being, bought by the community. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but what is a stock? I mean, most stocks, aren't giving people like dividends or anything like that. You buy it because it has attention. I mean, and you think the price will go up. And that's why you buy a stock, and that's why you buy a token. And then the token deployer gets, trading fees, or they sell their token or whatever. So essentially that has been happening already, but, let's scale it up. Let's apply it to regular businesses, out in the real world.
Yeah, now I'm actually curious. As for startups, is there what would be the advantage to actually? I mean, I see tons of advantages. You can raise money anywhere in the world. It's not really. There's a lot of advantages to actually tokenizing, but I guess are there any real problems with not token with the other route?
Stocks?
Yeah,
I think one of the main problems is that it's getting easier to buy stocks now, for sure. But the liquidity and safety and decentralization of tokens, I think is the future. And I think a lot of institutions are seeing that, using their own
tokens.
blockchains.
Yeah, kind of curious. Can you give tokens legal obligations, or I was actually talking to someone else earlier. They were telling me about covenants and how that works. So kind of curious, can tokens have covenants like in that sense?
Covenants?
Yes. Kind of like a promissory note behind a transaction.
I mean, we actually, I mean, that's funny because that's kind of how ShopX NFTs were going to work. I think that you can build that metadata into the NFT, into a token. I think it would need to be an NFT, not a token. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the problems of tokenization right now. Is just like it's very vague and very like it's just a,
And how would
it's
you,
a
okay,
fungible.
yeah, kind of curious how you would explain to general public or someone who's not familiar with crypto what the difference between an NFT and a token is.
So a token is like a penny, and they're all pennies are the same. And then NFT is like if you cut one of those pennies into a star, and now it's unique. Now there's no other penny like it. It's a very simple way to describe the difference because on the blockchain, not a huge difference. NFT can hold more data, but essentially, yeah, it's just difference between.
So I assumed that NFT was more like a minting of something. So and I that's why I'm kind of curious what the difference between that and a token was. When I say minting, I mean like a certification of like, oh yes, I don't know, like a FDA certification or something like that you would stamp on a pharmacy or something you'd say, yes, this is FDA approved, this drug, or like, something like that.
I mean, the thing is that the reason why people use NFTs for like, authenticity or provenance or whatever is because it kind of can be used like that, but it's not. Again, it really is just the difference between a penny and a cut penny. They're both just tokens on the blockchain. It's like, that's all it. It's just like NFT is unique and it's not possible to copy it. It's not possible to fake it. It's not possible to delete it or change it. It's just extremely unique and it's not fungible like a penny. So that's really all there is to it. You can attach it to anything you want and then say that because this NFT is attached to this thing, now it's certifying its authenticity.
That makes sense. So I guess there's a lot of different ways to use the same types of tools.
Right. There's a lot of ways to use NFT for sure.
And even just crypto, like from scamming people to games to actual, like, you know what I mean? There's so many different varying use cases that I've never really thought about.
You know, imagine like
Well,
a barcode or like a number you just put on different things. Like I put this a number on this game item. I put this number on this JPEG. I put this number on this e-commerce item.
yeah, I think the first time I ever heard of crypto was not even crypto. It was like, I guess this is crypto, but one of my clients he sold mangoes from Colombia all the way to, I think, Canada and North America. But on his like refrigerated container, they had like NFT or like the tracking, and that was done through crypto. And that was my
Yeah, that's
first
pretty cool.
experience
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think a supply chain management was also something we were going to get into with ShopX. Yeah, putting those on either crates or individual items. Yeah, for sure.
So I guess curious when you first started, like before you walked into crypto, I guess when did you walk into crypto?
That was 2020 when I met Cyrus,
Okay.
so not that long ago.
So before all of that, what was your thoughts of the industry and how did you like even get into it? And yeah,
Like I said, in college, I started getting into politics after kind of as like a branching off from philosophy. I started getting into politics. Actually, the first time I started getting into politics was when the government shut down and my financial aid was hung up. And I was like, wait, this all actually affects me. So I started getting really in politics and I actually helped campaign with Bernie Sanders. Not like directly, but, I drove to Arizona and New Mexico, taking people in my car and sleeping in, some random houses and going door to door and stuff like that. So I started getting into that whole like, end the billionaire type of thing back in, 20, what is that? 13
hmm.
probably. So,
So
a
right about
while
when you
ago.
graduated or a bit
It,
after?
it was like towards the end. Yeah, 2012 and 2013. Getting into that and like, yeah, doing some campaigning and like just being really inspired by, what could be done in politics and what's possible. But then disillusioned right after when he lost. And I was thinking like, how do I as an individual and how do we as like small groups of people who want to make a change, but like don't have the power to do so, how do you do anything in this world? And really, like, as much as you can try to get in people's hearts and minds, I think and I hope it would work. We see it happening in New York City. A lot of good things happening there, but really what the world comes down to is systems. Like the world is too big at this point. Like it's a huge boulder rolling down a hill, and we need to create systems that everyone just starts using, like Uber or DoorDash. People just start using because they worked. And if we can do that, but direct that ownership and the money and the, all of that towards in the right directions instead of like having one CEO or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually,
we can start to
decentralized
change.
Uber is such a great idea.
Yeah, decentralized Uber, decentralized DoorDash, and like those are just small examples of like how things can change really fast overnight, but only because it's a system that everyone can plug into, and it has to be better than the last one. Like it has to be better than taxis. For a while, Airbnb was better than hotels, but now people are saying no more. Like we're going back to hotels.
I think that's just the circle of, I would call it the circle of life, where you build a system or you build something that's supposed to be better than the previous one, and then it's better than the previous one. And then over time, you just stagnate and then you just get worse.
Well, Uber and DoorDash still killing it. So, Lyft, but that's the thing. Like if we can create systems, like me as a builder, like at first I was hoping I could write, change people's minds. Maybe I could if I was a better writer, but I think my biggest factor is like my biggest strength is building. So if I can build something that people can plug into, and then after I do that, don't be a parasite about it and like suck all the value out of the country.
So, I mean, even curious now that we're talking about this. So you talk about campaigning with Bernie and all of this, and I'm curious what your mental, not your mental state, more like your reaction was when Trump didn't win once, he won twice. Like, kind of curious what your thoughts are. Not thoughts, I guess. Just just your mental state. It's like you're seeing what seems like an entire country move in a different direction.
I actually would hesitate to say that necessarily moving in a different direction. Obviously, I'm not supportive of Trump or MAGA or whatever, but it shows that people are dissatisfied with what's going on. Even though their dissatisfaction is being pointed in the wrong direction, they very strongly want change, and they're willing to break everything down to do that. Even on the internet, I don't know if you're chronicling online like me, the leftists online, they very much want change, and they're a lot of them are really willing to see Trump in office because they think it'll help break things in order so that we can fix them.
I think the funny thing for me is like the directions of left and right have gotten so confusing at this point where I don't know what direction is what anymore. It's like,
yeah, a lot of politics in America is culture. So
yeah, that's actually true. Okay. So, I mean, beyond all of that now, when you get moving forward, or I guess zooming out, when you decide to retire, what do you really want to be known for?
honestly, nothing.
Want to be forgotten?
Yes, if I am successful, people forget about me. Like if I'm the most successful I could possibly be, I'll disappear, and I'll just be the tech Illuminati sort of kind of just watching over things and then helping where if I'm still needed. Like the whole point of decentralization is to create an environment where.
So I guess what are you motivated by?
Like I said, I want to live in a cool world that lasts, and I want to live a long time. Like I want to live 1,000 years, literally. I'm not even joking. And if the world burns, or if science just doesn't progress very quickly, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, and it'll be boring.
So there are plenty of reasons for me to want to succeed in the short term. Like obviously, I want to make a living. Obviously, I want to be comfortable. Obviously, I want to make have a good life with my girlfriend and all that. And then the second layer is, the sense of justice, hating to see all the injustices in the world. It's a very strange feeling. Like it's not anything you can really describe aside from like a weird existential nausea of like just knowing that there's so many bad people that are just dying happy and comfortable in their sleep, surrounded by their loved ones, like never having paid the price for their crimes. And while, so many good people are suffering, so many potentially, great minds are starving. So there is that. And then, at the highest level, there is just it loops back around to being selfish again, to wanting to see a really cool and futuristic world and to be able to live in that world.
Makes sense. I actually agree I agree with that. Actually, I can kind of get it. It's like you want to live in a world that's happy. You want to live a happy life, and we live one life. There's no point of living it sad.
Imagine you walk around and you just say hi to somebody, you just talk, you're talking about science and stuff, and like, you start talking about like the different, reasons why they're having a hard time with the moon colony because like the dust is getting in all the gear and everything like that. And that would just be such an interesting world to live in compared to, and I'm not trying to be pretentious about it. I just think that we could be so much more. We could be doing so much more. Things could be so much more interesting. And also, I just like building. I just like doing things. And I want to be able to expand what I'm capable of and the resources I can deploy, like being able to have like 3 supercomputers in my house and have them all like running, a huge AI model, being able to just create whatever I think of, whatever I want, having that power at my fingertips. And, that's also a big motivation. I think it's just interesting. It's just fun being able to make things with AI. Obviously, a lot of people will say like make with AI, you're just prompting. It's one of the hardest things I've done is making Signal. There is a lot of research and work and building and architecture that goes into it.
Yeah, it's like you can say you're not really making anything with AI, but like, okay, you can try to do the same thing I did, and you'll see how hard it is.
Yeah, do literally anything I've made. My token management platform, my Telegram bot, Signal. Yeah, try to make any of those things. They all took a while. They all took a lot of. And the thing is with AI, it doesn't. If you're going to make something new, all it can do is do what you tell it to do. It can't think of new things. And that's like one of the hardest parts is like trying
I mean,
to.
I feel like
Sometimes
AI is
like
yeah.
sometimes I'm like a cheerleader for Opus. I'm like, I know you don't know this. If you knew it, everyone would be doing it. We have to iterate. We have to figure this out. It's possible. We were here. Now we're here. And here is possible. You just got to let go of the pessimism and, work with me. Like sometimes I'm just like cheering them on. Like,
Yeah. No, I was going to say, I feel like AI a lot of times is more like, it's not even a given thing. It's more like a multiplier on the person using it. So it's more so it'll multiply whatever you're doing rather than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Like once I made a tool, and I'm not sure I don't think he still uses it, but my brother's partner at their restaurant, they use Toast to manage the salaries and income and everything. Every night he would input all the data into a spreadsheet. It took like an hour and a half. I made a little workflow for him to, a couple clicks and it's all in the spreadsheet. And while it was easy for me, the steps involved, it's not something that he knows about AI. They use AI, but they didn't like that. And
They wouldn't
not
have
patting
thought to
myself on
do
the
it.
back, but it's
Yeah.
not that easy.
Like I think the key is, I think even thinking of doing something, a lot of people wouldn't think that concept of being able to think to do something is actually is a challenge for a lot of people. And I think that's also something that I think we're going to see more of with AI, the difference between people who thought to do something and people who did it. And then you're just going to have to, I guess, stretch and keep trying more and more.
Yeah, there's a lot of like, there is some imagination to it. And, there's also like architecture and just like imagining what's possible and like how to put this tool and that tool and that tool and that tool and that tool together. Like I'm making a real-time video, like AI companion, and someone
Like
kind
a
of
live
tried it,
editor or,
live chat with the video with
okay.
an AI, like, their face and everything. Pika Labs, they
Yes,
tried
I
it.
saw that one.
Yeah. But if you actually try the app, I think I can improve on it. I can't just walk in there and say, hey guys, let me do it. So I'm just doing it myself.
Yeah.
But all the pieces involved, like, has turned into like a huge headache. Like I'm not going to give my stack away, but there's so many different moving parts and elements that had to come into me putting together even a prototype for that. So, and
So
also
curious.
my agent Claudia is like the brain
You've named
behind it.
Claudia.
Yeah.
So I guess what I was going to ask is when you do get that done, I already have a request for what I wanted animated on my computer. By the way, if you see the teddy bear on the corner, I would love to have a teddy bear just sitting here with like the same type. I tried to do it on Pika, it didn't work. I would love to try it on yours.
On mine, I have to build the 3D models and then they have to be like animated.
For sure. When you get it done, whenever, I'll be the first person
Okay.
in line.
All right. Figure that out. Because I also want to do like not just people, but yeah, little creatures, little pets, a little robot. I had an idea for like a little monster gremlin that's like when you open up the app, he's just bouncing around and like screaming, and then you just have to like kind of figure out how to tame it and like bring it
Yeah.
to order.
I feel like mascots are going to be a huge thing going forward too, just for businesses.
Yeah, you have Goblin, right,
Yeah.
and ChatGPT. And there's a mascot for everything. Claude had
No, I mean,
something.
like think like McDonald's, Ronald McDonald, the grandpa. These things are gonna start getting animated on TV with AI now.
Yeah, probably. They could already. I think the only thing stopping it is probably just like copyright stuff. Like unless they do it themselves, like someone else trying to make it wouldn't work.
Yeah, and they're too slow. So yeah. Well, that's all I had, by the way. So thanks so much for jumping on the call, giving us your time. And I actually really love this episode. I think we got into a lot of different and really interesting topics. So I really appreciate you like even going to those places.
Yeah, I
And
don't want
yeah,
to talk about this like signal the whole time. I enjoy talking about everything else too.
no, and I think people want to hear more about your personality and who you are, be more than just what you're building, because that engraces or not engraces. I'm bad with English, by the way, but like attracts people to what you like. People like to see the founder behind the product as well. And like, I mean, Signal is such a great, I mean, it's even nice to even learn what a game would look like on blockchain. So
You
yeah,
said what?
no, it was really interesting to learn what a game would look like on the blockchain.
But yeah. I mean, it's like gamified, and there's other like real blockchain games.
Yeah.
Mine's like a gamified trading experience, whereas like there's actually real games. Like I think a lot of the games you would see are like, especially recently, like farming type of games.
Like
Those are
idle
actually working
games?
pretty well. Farming.
Is it like similar to idle games, or is it more like
Yeah, there's idle elements. It's kind of like a Farmville or Animal Crossing type of games, where I guess you're collecting things, you're building things, and growing things over time. I haven't played them, but
and you get tokens or NFTs during this entire time, so you're actually earning something.
Right, exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed the talk. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we'll cut this up and like basically we'll do the same thing we're doing with Eric, but we'll post some of it to Instagram. Instagram is easier, just because it's vertical. Anytime it's horizontal, it just takes a little bit longer for us to edit. But yeah,
All
well,
right.
once we edit it, we'll chop it up and give you some things. We'll have it on LinkedIn and Instagram as well.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate this.
Yeah, thanks. But yeah, that was the end of the call, and
Yeah.
love talking to you.
Yeah, you too, man. That's fun.
Hey,
But I'll talk
we'll
to you
stay in
later.
touch. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. Wait, before you go,